Nate's come out with another awesome tool for the swimming community. It's called Swimnerd Live, and it allows the data and times from your actual scoreboard to be broadcast and viewed in real time on any smart TV, phone, or other device. It has all the information you're looking for: event, heat, lane, name of swimmer, times and places. One click on any device and they're watching your swim meet live in real time. Go to swimpractice.com to learn more. All right, Carol Capitani, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on here. You're doing some incredible things at Texas. Hey, listen, there's a rumor going around that you're going to be taking over both programs.
See, Brett, that's like the story of my life. Like, hey, how's it going? Wait, how's Eddie?
Are you going to be taking over both programs, men and women?
I am. Is that what we're announcing today?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Thanks. I thought it's kind of easy just coaching one program. And so I figure I need a new challenge. Might as well go back to combined program. And here we go.
Why wouldn't that happen? Why would they not consider
that? They probably wouldn't consider it now just because I've fought so hard. I mean, I didn't have to fight that hard, but I do. I think RAD is amazing. And a couple of years ago, I heard that was a rumor. Like, hey, I'm kind of hearing around the grapevine when Eddie ever retires that you're just going to combine the programs. And if that's the case, let me know, because I'll be gone pretty quick. And he's like, wait, who told you that? So like, he's like messing around with me a little bit, but
yeah,
I've stood up for just single sex programs for a long time. And so when people call, they're like, hey, how about Carol takes over this program? He just kind of laughs. He's like, okay, good luck with that. Call her. I did coach for a long time in a combined program, and I loved it. And I do think there are some advantages, but as a head coach, and I do think it's a unique opportunity just to coach a single sex. I think it's my bandwidth and my emotional, like what I feel that I can do is it works really well, single sex,
And you say single sex, but specifically women. Why do you feel like you work better with women?
Oh, I didn't say that actually. I mean, I don't know.
So you think you could just be a head coach for a men's team?
I do.
Okay, good.
No,
that's what I'm saying. That's why they should consider combining this thing.
The point is, I think I could do. I don't think it really. Honestly, I mean, do I think I could coach men as well as women? Absolutely. Do I think I could coach 60 people or be the head coach of a program with 60 people on it and coach as well as I could with only 30 people on my team? No. With everything that's involved in recruiting, if you just had I do think every men are different than women. Clearly, I do think there is a unique environment that you can create. And I've only coached just women, right? Like I have not coached just men, but I do think if you ask anybody on the men's team, hey, do you guys want to come over and swim with the women? Let's combine. I don't think any guys would think that would be great. And if you asked our team, hey, let's combine with the men, they'd be like, what? I think if you'd asked any single sex program if they'd like to combine, if they have a good situation, in my experience, I don't think they would want to.
Well, based on what you said, right? Let's just go off what you said here.
I like this, yeah.
And what I'm taking from this, you heard a rumor a few years ago that they were, when Eddie steps aside, they're considering of joining the programs together. And you said, well, that happens, I'm out of here. That, in your mind, that says they wouldn't even consider you to be the head coach of that. So what it says to me is they would consider a man to come in and it would be okay for them to take over the women, but it's not okay for a woman to take over the men.
No, I'm saying I don't want to coach a combined program.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I guess I just put that out. I mean, I have no interest in coaching a combined program.
Why is it so acceptable in our mind?
Like it's not female. I would coach a single sex men's program. I would coach but I really enjoy what I'm doing now. So
right. Yeah, no, I know what you
myself
mean.
Out there, but I would coach a single sex men's program. But I love what I'm doing, and the chances of someone hiring female to coach a single sex men's program would be so minuscule. It's not even worth talking about. So I just
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to get at. Why is that the case, though? Like, why are we still there now? Like, you're an exceptional coach. You're brilliant. You could coach anybody. You've said that. I know that. So why wouldn't they consider you to, first of all, just coach men, or to combine the program and say Carol's going to take over? Why shouldn't that be a consideration?
Yeah, I mean, it should be. If they were to combine the program, it should be.
Right.
What I was basically saying is like, look, I really enjoy coaching the women here. And if you plan on combining, just let me know now so I can kind of plan my extra strategy and think in a different way.
It should be, but we're still not really there yet, are we? Like, if we're being honest.
We are not there. Oh, we don't even have to be honest. We're very far from that.
Yeah, and that's why. Like, why are we still not there?
I wish I had the answers. I mean, I do. We're going to get right into this, right?
Yeah. Look, I had nothing planned. Look, Carol, nothing on my sheet.
Okay, good. That's perfect. No, I do. Well, I mean, the pipeline, like there are less women coaching, right? So the pipeline for coaches that have the experience and it is less. There's just less people to choose from. There's less women to choose from as you go. And I do think the grace period, there isn't a lot of grace in our sport. I mean, Brett, you get it.
Yeah.
Like we could talk about you, we could talk to anybody. But if you do screw up or you need to be damn good from the get-go or it's over.
Oh, I agree. Like, look,
damn good. Like when we were, the worst placing, I guess, at NCAA is when you were 15th, and it was kind of a disaster, but it was like there was stuff in my control, stuff out of my control, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you would have thought like we didn't score any points. Yeah. Right. And people are like, oh, what happened? That was terrible. Like we had to carry that around for a year, and there's great programs you can be 15th, but if you're female and you fall out of the top 10, or that's how I feel. Like you're just such in the limelight. I do feel that you don't get many chances.
What about this? You've been in the top 10 now for a number of years. Is this your ninth? You just finished your 9th year at Texas?
Yeah, I did.
Ninth, yeah. Right. Yeah. Is there pressure to win? Like, it's great to be in the top 10. Everybody wants it. And look, I'm the first to tell you, it's extremely difficult to be in the top 10. But is there pressure at Texas to win?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is pressure, but I mean, I think there's pressure. It's not just at Texas. I do think there are a lot of big time universities and the pressure comes from the top, but the pressure comes from me too. Like it's not that I'm like, oh, the pressure is coming down from the top. Like I want that too.
Well, let's use a different word then. Is there expectation? Do they say to you, win or else?
No.
Okay.
But you feel it. You feel it because you want to be, I do feel I'm surrounded by excellence. And I mean, you can just look across the pool deck, right? So that's just inherent pressure in itself. But it's not that Eddie's coming over saying, dang, you better buck up, Carol. But it's you understand what you're walking into, I think, when you come to Texas.
Well, I mean, you've won at Georgia. You've been part of programs that have won at Georgia, and you've sat on the pool deck, or you've not sat. You've been on the pool deck when Eddie's been winning recently. What is it about the program that you're at Georgia, and then maybe with watching Eddie? Like, is there some secret that everybody's trying to tap into? Like, what is it about winning that is so difficult?
I mean, there is some timing, right? Timing's everything. People, but I do think it comes consistency and people and connection, and it takes a long time. Like, not for Eddie, because of course he walks in and his third year he starts, he's in the top 3. But I think take him out of the equation. I mean, you can ask Jack, you can ask people. I mean, it's tough to be in that position for an extended period of time because it is difficult. And do I know if I knew the secret to winning, I'd be doing it already. But I mean, I do think, I mean, when I look around too much, like it takes a little bit of the joy out of it, right? Like comparison's the thief of joy. You just, but there is, it does come down. I don't think it's more difficult at Texas. I can't say that, but I do feel there's a different, it's not a different kind of pressure, but it should be probably like any place. You could be at any school that's competing right now in the top 10 and say, wow, it sure is different here, but you got to get to know your place. And you have to have the support of the administration. You have to know what they want. You have to find people that are going to work with you and support you in ways that before you even got there, you don't even know what those ways are. Right?
Yeah.
It looks different it looks different where you go. Barely anybody can just walk in and turn things around, lickety split.
Did you think it would be easier to win than it has been?
No, because I think I was 14 years at Georgia.
Yeah.
And I mean, for 8 years we were first or second, but I did understand what a lucky place it is to be an assistant at a high performing team for that long, because at the end of the day, you realize it wasn't all about me. It was a little bit about me, but I didn't have to go to bed at night, like carrying that weight. And It's a lot, and it's a lot when you run the whole show by yourself. That it doesn't matter what, there's a big difference, and you don't know what you don't know. So once you carry that around you're like, man, I could do this. This is, and then but I knew it for a long time. Like, okay, this isn't easy. So,
do you enjoy it? Like, is it like this? To me, that's a lot. That's a lot. And look, I had to step away from it. It was a lot. Like it's a lot. Like I've been in a program where the expectation is so high, and I've felt that. Like finishing out of the top 10, it was like. To everyone around us, even though we were just outside the top 10, it was a complete disaster. It was like we did nothing the whole season. It was like, what did you do the whole season? So I get it. And that wasn't enjoyable to me in the end. Like, is it still enjoyable to you?
No, it is. It is. I mean, I think that's the beauty of perspective, right? Like it is enjoyable. I love it. I mean, I do feel I have the best job in the world. Like that when things are rolling, like right now, I do feel I'm doing some of my best work. Right? Like right now, this year.
Yeah.
2 years ago, no. Right? I mean, nobody ever asked me that. I mean, the feeling, like nobody's like, Carol, how you doing?
Yeah, I know. No, you feel isolated out there.
It is. That's probably the biggest surprise. A couple of people, Sayla told me, like, Sayla's like, Carol, it's pretty lonely at the top. And I mean, I've told them this later. I'm like, well, that's you. That's not going to be me. Yeah. Right. And then you realize, like, I don't really have that many people to talk with, because your good friends are also the people that are trying to beat your ass all the time.
Yeah.
And you want to have, like, I value connection. Like, it's one of my foundations. So I'm like, well, how do you connect with the people who know your life the best and so there has to be a lot of trust, right? A lot, like with your colleagues and with coaches. And it gets pretty lonely because there's barely anyone that understands.
Yeah.
And two years ago, 3, I mean, like I didn't realize it until I realized it. And I'm like, wait, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, even when we got 5th in 19, we got 5th, and you would have thought we got 25th.
Yeah.
Like the feeling of getting 5th, which was, in a long time, it was like the best our program had done. The expectation and the way that I felt, that we underperformed, that was as bad as getting 5th. I mean, I don't know if it's bad. I try to put it away, but like that was not fun.
No,
so it doesn't matter whether you're carrying around. It doesn't matter from the outside, and so few people care about it. And you're like, why am I walking around carrying this big, bag of crap? It's not very
well. There's a couple of things there. You think the whole world cares, and there's like 20 people that do, but you think everybody. But then, when you finish 12th, you'd be like, damn, I would kill to finish fifth right now. Like it's all about
Right, and then you
perspective,
finish
like you
fifth,
said.
and you're like, oh, that you finish third, and then it's like, I that it's perspective, right? And it's that expectation, and then at the end of the day, I do know, like, I mean, it's what we do. We try to do a nice job, like communicating on our team and like saying, look, you are not your swims. Like if the education piece in swimming, right? Like telling our athletes, like, you are not defined by your swims. Like you are not your swims. You are not your, but you are your performances. There is an attachment because that's what we're doing here. We're trying to perform and you're trying to be your best. So it's like there is growth and there is failure, and there, like, to get to be really, really good, you have to have failure and you have to have growth, and there has to be stair steps to where you're going. So I mean, that is the part that I value really more than anything. I mean, I'd love to win, and I want to, and that's the goal. But at the same time, I don't think you can do that without the growth along the way. And so I do realize, like, so look at every good coach out there. There have been years you're like, oh, what did we do? But then when you really focus on the people and the growth and where you want to go, that's like, this is a long haul.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone, right? It's just
exactly. It looks attractive from the outside looking in, but then once you're in there, it's tough. It's super competitive at the top. Like, look, you're an outstanding coach, but there are 15, 20 of you out there, and you're all competing against each other.
There are so many good coaches.
Well, yes, I'm minimizing it. But everybody's good.
So many good coaches, and a lot of people. So that's why sometimes just, I mean, we're dealing. You're dealing with scholarship. You're dealing with a team. You're dealing with injuries. Talent. Now we're dealing with like recruiting 2 years before they're even going to set foot on your campus. Like so much can happen. It's gotten a little crazy.
It has got crazy. Yeah. I kind of feel like I stepped away at the right time, because like right when I stepped away in 18, it was like, they changed all these rules to open it up to even broader, recruiting. And I don't know how you recruit somebody 2 years out, 3 years out. It's like, man, these kids, like, I think back to myself at the age of 15, 16, I was a child. Like I had no business being anywhere near a college at that stage, So, it's very strange to me. You did something that really impressed me, though, that I feel like is very, very difficult to do. And I want to kind of talk to you about your approach to it. You made an assistant coaching change. You brought in Mitch Dalton, and I found that really courageous, because I think that's very difficult to do. What was your mindset behind that?
Thanks. I mean, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Like again, like I do feel like that, when I first tried work, it was, I mean, I feel it was the best decision at the time, and it didn't have anything to do with a great person, great guy, and I, it's hard when you are the head coach and you have to make these decisions that are like impact people's lives. We do it with athletes, and hopefully you never have to do it with like your staff. But again, this goes back, I guess, to like combined coaching versus, just having a single sex team.
Yeah.
In a combined program, I do feel the head coach, I mean, you're kind of you're coaching, but you're also managing, because you have 4 assistants.
Absolutely.
You have 4 assistants. You have 60 kids, however many kids, like your role as a manager putting out fires is a lot, but
absolutely,
it's unreal. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that at Georgia, and I felt like, oh, good. I'm kind of the glue that can help hold the staff together. And I had my kids I had relationships with, and, it was easier. And you realize, I didn't realize till I got here, this person you pick it's like a marriage. I mean, it is you and that person, and you got to like deal with it, and whether it's, my fault, like I'm leading at the end of the day, like, nobody's like, wow, that assistant coach is great or not great or whatever. Like I knew something wasn't working, and at some point I'm like, man, maybe I need to go. Maybe I'm not doing the job. This is poor leadership. My team's not performing, and I'm not happy. And I'm like, then I was like, okay, wait, this is my program. I do know what I'm doing. And I need to find someone that maybe we've outgrown each other. I got to find someone who speaks my language, and I feel supported, and like we're working together towards the same things. Right. And not that Rourke and I weren't. It's just like, I think like, wow, I thought that I could feel better in my own skin, I guess,
Yeah.
Best way to put it. So,
look, like I said, I found it very courageous because it was something that I couldn't do at Auburn. Most of the time, anytime there was a coaching change, the coach was going to get another job, so I was like, oh, thank God, like I don't have to make that call. It's a very difficult
it's interesting. Like I did have a few close, colleagues that I said, I don't know if I have the guts to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm strong enough. I can't do it.
Sure.
You think of all the other things and lives you're affecting. And I just thought, I can't do this. And then I thought, wait, this is my life. Like, this is my life and my responsibility. And as a leader, I think you have to make the decisions that are right for the team, and right, not just right for me, but right for the team, and right moving forward. And I'm like, what kind of like leadership am I modeling if I can't have hard conversations and make changes that I need to make?
Yeah.
Like, it was hard. And a lot of coaches, a couple coaches I talked to said, you know what? I wish I had done something like that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I do too.
And I thought, wow, like, I mean, that gave me a little bit more gumption of like, okay, and it worked. I mean, I think it worked out for everyone. So it's
Well, I was thankful that you called me during that process, and you kind of threw some names at me, and we're not going to talk about the names that you were considering, but in terms of the one you chose, why did you end up choosing Mitch over other possibilities?
Mitch just was a really, it was interesting just because I think the first time around, again, I thought I made a great hire the first time around. And then, that if you have the opportunity to make a hire the second time around, I think I changed my tactics a little bit. And I learned this, partly from my AD, and when we were talking about honoring your strengths. And I think I thought that I had to like get the opposite of me, oh, if here's my strengths, then I need to get someone who's the opposite, right, or who does all this other stuff well, so that I don't have to do that. And I thought like, all right, this time around, I'm going to find someone who's like, I had the opportunity. Mitch and I speak the same language. It's a little bit like we're both English majors,
Yeah.
He's an English major. I got my master's in English. Like, I liked the breadth and the depth of his interests, like outside of swimming. And when we're talking, I think it's really important. And it's something that's kind of the foundation of when we're coaching is like, I want to be able to talk about, you have to have the same language when we're talking about coaching. We're talking about designing like the year and the weeks and the program. And we've come up with something that I think works really well. And, if you're talking about English, I want the words to be right. I want the communication to be clear. And, are we always perfect? No, but like, I think that's where we're going. And the clearer we can communicate about like expectations and what the season looked like, what we expect, how we want things to run, it's working out really well. And I think that I was scared, like I thought, oh, I have to here are my weaknesses. Let me get that. But I do think if there's only 2 people on your staff, like we'll figure out how to do the stuff we're not good at. Right.
Yeah.
Like let's be the strongest where both of our strengths are. So.
Yeah, I think it was an outstanding choice, and it's obviously shown up in the results. You guys had a fantastic season this season, right?
Thanks, we did.
Why did you feel like things clicked? Why were things working for you? Like, what were you doing that just seemed to get the results you wanted?
I mean, part of it goes back to what I was saying. Like, I do think, the newness is something, right? Newness is, it's always like you get a little spark because it's
right.
New and different. This year was going to be new and different no matter what. Like, I don't think anybody was like, woo, COVID, it's new, it's different. Like, we're going to thrive. But our the energy of our freshman class was pretty outstanding. And I think the opportunity when new blood comes into your team, like you can capitalize on that energy. That was pretty great. They're definitely talented. It's a talented bunch, but they really bought in. We were very honest, very transparent about like, here's what we know and here's what we don't know. And the way, sometimes like we would spend so much time trying to fit, because especially nothing was known. We could make stuff up and then it could fall apart. Right. So I think part of it was just how much time we probably had to spend being real, like making things fun, making up, we had so many fake meets against ourselves, not so many, but the meets that we had against ourselves, really like we made them fun and we put the energy and the expectation into it and it worked. Like I changed my idea. Like, do we really need to have like 8 dual meets, right? Like, do you really need to travel all over? Like, I mean, I'd love to go back to having real dual meets and we will, but I don't think I've changed my thought a little bit about that.
You've talked about this a little bit. And I want to kind of dig into it more. It's pretty well known, Eddie's coaching style. Like he kind of walks in and it's very hard to write down anything Eddie, it's hard to get a season out of Eddie. Like it's just like he kind of just goes in and does it.
Hard to get a practice out of Eddie. He
Yeah. Like each lane's different, and then if someone forgets something, you'll come back and tell them something different again. So it's like you never know what you're going to get. But what's your coaching style? Like, how do you go through your season? How do you communicate your practices? How do you record your information? Like, how do you look back year to year to know what you did last year to this year? Like, what's your style?
It's interesting. We have a pretty, it's not Eddie's style, right? I want to have practice written and, we have a weekly plan. Like we know what we're doing every day. Right. So we have a weekly plan. We have what we're doing. We have a daily plan. Like, okay, this is the kind of work we're doing this week. This is the kind of work we're doing for these 3 weeks, these 2 weeks. So like we kind of map out the season, like 12 to 16 weeks at a time. But then we also have like, today's 200 strokers, 100 sprint, today's distance and this. So like we have that idea, but I like to walk on deck. I'm never on deck without the practice written, and we type it out, we put on little sheets of paper. It's a little bit cumbersome. And then they put it on their water bottle so they know what they're doing.
Okay. Right. So when do you do that? Let's say it's a morning practice. Let's say it's a Tuesday morning. When is that practice actually written? The night before?
If I'm really ahead of the game, like I'll jot down some ideas for like my main sets on, after Saturday morning practice or Sunday sometimes, and get a couple days ahead of like, or if I think of something the week before of like, okay, I love this set today. Next week, I want to do a very, something different, then I'll get it down. But like this morning, like today's practice, I wrote at 5:30, because it's quiet in my house and I can have my coffee and write practice.
So you get up, type it out, and then just print it and bring it to the pool.
I print it out the pool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nice. Mitch and I I think we split up groups. We keep it in one long like Google Doc for the year, and then we'll put it away. I used to keep it in emails in this file. Sometimes I look back about. It's funny, like I've kept everything we've written here, but then I rarely. I don't know, like I don't know why I'm keeping them because I rarely look back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think I will, but
I think there'll be a time when it's nice to be able to look back, but you're just not doing it at the moment. But.
Right, and I'm not a big there's not a lot of sets we repeat.
I was going to say that. Do you have, test sets or sets you repeat? Like what is
I think
where are you getting your sets from?
I think if you ask my team, they'd be like, okay, this is a Carol practice, or like, okay, this is more of a Mitch practice. But I try not to do warm-ups get a little, like 850s, odds drill, evens build, something like that. But like, I try to make it different enough because if I'm getting bored, then like, they're going to be bored. Like, I'm not trying to make up just different stuff for the sake of it. But sometimes I get tired of my own things and I'm looking around or, talking to Eddie, talking to other coaches in the country, like, oh, hey, what's a cool set you've done lately? But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily I don't know if you feel this, know this, but it's about the set, but it's really about like the expectations and the communication around the set and what you can get people to go inside the set. Like, I mean, Eddie has a good line. Like, it's not us that makes the kids make the sets look good.
Right.
You know, it's not us that make the sets good. The kids make the sets good, you know? So it's like, I like that.
I agree with that too, because a lot of the times people are like, oh, tell us a set they did. Tell us a workout. I'm like, it's not about the workout. Like, it's not one workout that's going to change something.
We did these 2,100. I mean, it's like you look at a set sometimes, it's not that. It's like all the emotion behind it, what the goals are. If a kid's never done anything before, getting somebody going, like it really has nothing to do with it. Sometimes like I'm spending way too much time on a set. I'm like, okay, let's calm down a little bit. This isn't about the set. This is like the energy we're bringing to the set. Like, what are the expectations? Can we get there? Can we do things under pressure? You know, when you're tired, like that's what I'm trying to do.
I will say this, you guys as English majors, you must have some of the best emails that go out to recruits. Crushing people on the emails.
I hope so. We've had some fun. Yeah.
Well, in terms of the physiology and let's just stick with that for starters. Where did you learn how to write workouts? Where did you learn how to get the best out of athletes in terms of their physiology? You know, back in your career, like as a young coach, where was that developed for you?
Well, I'm fortunate. I haven't been many places, you know, like, so, I did probably get the idea that like doing the same thing over and over. I mean, I do. There's that quote, excellence is boring. Like, I mean, there's some programs where it works, where every Monday you do 10 300s and every Friday you do this kind of set. I get that. But when I went to college, I grew up swimming on the Natadors. And I mean, there was some sets I'd probably never, if I gave them to my team, they would, you know, quit. Right. But when I got to college, this woman, Karen Moe Humphries, she was my coach. And I don't remember doing a lot of the same thing ever. Like, she kept you had to think almost the entire practice. And that's what I loved. I love thinking. I love being awake. Like that was my one time, like in the pool, where I felt like I was getting smarter. Right.
Yeah.
But then and at Georgia, I mean, Jack can write some great sets, but sometimes we wouldn't know him till like right beforehand. Right. But I learned a lot of Georgia. I mean, I was there a long time. I was at Villanova before Georgia. And I mean, I carried a lot with me, but it was a different kind of athlete, right? After I left Villanova, went to Georgia. So like, I think it wasn't, I mean, I guess I learned at Georgia how to write sets because you're given some accountability and responsibility. Oh, Carol, you run breaststroke, you do this. But I did realize then it's about the sets, but it was more about like the relationships. Right. It was about what you're saying to the kids before practice starts, what you're saying to the kids quickly during practice, like what you're set, like, hey, we're doing this in the main set, and this is where I need you to be. Or like, it's the talking around the set that makes the most difference.
Yeah. Right? You swam at Cal. What kind of athlete were you?
I don't know. I was a top 8 NCAA girl. I am her.
Yeah, I am her. Okay.
Yep.
Who was the coach then?
Karen Moe Humphries. Everybody thought she and Nort were married, but they weren't. Okay. She coached, I don't know, 20 years. Her husband passed away when after my junior year in college, and she kept coaching another 2 years, and just with 2 kids and everything else, she went into compliance administration at Cal. So
okay, right.
She's the best. Yeah. Yeah.
So was there any Olympic runs for you? Did you try and make the Olympic team or anything like that?
No, my junior year, I was like 3rd in 400 IM, 4th in 200 IM. My senior year, I was like 5th, 7th. I don't, you know, somewhere around there. And I thought about swimming one more year to make World U's, and then I was like, well, Janet Evans was there, Somerset, like it was. Like a million years ago.
You were competing against someone?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Like she's a couple years younger than I am, but like I wasn't going to beat Janet.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, I thought, oh, I could make World U's, I could make an international team, but I was like, I learned everything I can from swimming. I love my career. I wanted to do other things.
So how then did you, you're not this international.
Sorry, I'm gonna get, there you go.
There, that's good. You're not this international swim star, and then you study English in school. How'd you end up a swim coach then? Like why?
Well, I never wanted to be a swim coach. Like I was like, I've swum my whole life. I've had enough. I'm out of here. I moved to Italy for a year, worked for a family, messed around, went to the Olympics I went as a spectator to the Olympics in 92.
Okay.
Having fun. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and get my master's in English. I'm going to write short stories. I'm going to be a professor. Perfect. And as I got back moved to Italy, came back, trying to find a job, taking the GRE, getting ready to go to school. And I got a call and saying, hey, if I heard you want to get your master's in English, Villanova's looking for an assistant coach. They're top 20, both men and women. It's a combined program. And if you do the coaching, you can go to grad school for free. And it was like $18,000, like for, to get paid. I was like, yeah. Really? Yeah. So then I thought, oh, I'll just do this like dumb coaching on this, not dumb, but I was like, oh, I'll just do the coaching kind of on the side, but I'm really going to be into my English stuff. And,
right.
And then I realized at the end of the day, like the coaching was a lot more fun than the English. I mean, it was great. It was just, I realized like it was I actually had a really good friend who was my thesis advisor. And he said, Carol, like, you don't realize when you're teaching English, you maybe have like one or two good relationships over the course of, like with your students, them for a semester, maybe a year if you're directing their thesis. He said, you get to spend time with these kids for 4 years. Like if this is about relationships, then maybe I just wasn't that good at English, Like, he sort of was like, hey, why don't you do this stuff? Looks like you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I did. So.
Well, you went from that to, being at the top of the food chain in terms of, college coaching. I mean, it's incredible where you're at. But is it difficult for you to balance the girls that just want to get an education, the girls that want to swim at Texas and swim at the NCAA level, and then the ones that want to win world championships and want to be Olympians and want to be on the podium? Every team like yours, with the level that you're at now, has women on their team like that, Mm-hmm. And is that balance difficult?
That's not what I find difficult. Did you find it difficult?
Yes. I found like there were some people that came in every day and wanted to be the best swimmer in the world. And there were other kids that were just happy to collect the t-shirt at the front door, So it's like, I found it frustrating at times because I always tried to coach to the highest level, the highest common denominator. I didn't want to coach down here at this level where these kids were just happy to walk in the door. And you're going to have that, like on a team of, 30 women, they're not all going to want to be world champions. Some of them just want to get degrees. And so that balance for me was difficult for sure.
I think that, okay, I understand what your question. I find it difficult. We try to set up like the expectations, like absolutely they're here to get an education, right? Sure. Otherwise I just coach pros, right?
Right.
And I do think there is something unique and unbelievable that this is my job. I get to help people go to one of the best schools in the country and compete and get better. I don't mind if something, like I was talking to my seniors. This is a great example. I was talking to my seniors and at the beginning of the year, and I said, look, you guys, you can stay or you can, here's some grace. If you don't, I cannot promise you anything. I can't promise you that we'll travel. We will probably not travel. I can't promise a conference meet. I will definitely can't promise an NC2A meet. It might be boring. It's going to be cumbersome. We're going to get tested once a week. If that's not up your alley and you want to just be a normal kid, I'm saying this during COVID, but like, that is totally fine. Like I support you 1,000. You don't owe this team anything. Like you do the best decision for you. And I had like 3 people. They're like, okay, sounds good. We're out. Totally fine. I had 4 people stay. And, you know, one of them, we had this meeting and I said, look, I can't promise that I can, you know, there's no NC2A. She said, Carol, I knew I was never going to make NC2As. I just want to help this team be in the best place it's ever been. Like, that's my role. I'm going to she knows she has no shot of making NC2As, but she had a hell of a year. And like, she went all best times. Like I'm as proud of that, because that's the difference between wanting to get the team, just being a part of something and actually saying, no, I don't want to be a part of this. I want to make this better. Right. I think my frustration ever is when you find kids that like, they're not interested in making the people around them better.
Gotcha.
Right. That's the difficulty. You're like, I don't mind if people are like, they come in, you can only take, I mean, we have good diving, so we can take 16 NCs. We're not there yet, you know? So like, if you carry 25 on your team, there are going to be people that don't go to NC2As, but as long as people are trying to get better and grow and figure out, like, I don't know why you'd spend so much time doing something if you didn't expect to get better.
Yeah.
You can still have your friends if you don't swim.
Yeah, it makes sense. Do you have any girls right now who you think can make the U.S. Olympic team?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is that difficult right now? Like, how's the coaching? You know, obviously you guys had some challenges this year. Are those challenges still there in the lead up to trials?
The challenge probably has been just with NC2A rules. Again, like all the rules, we haven't been able to go with because of the dead period in recruiting.
Right.
I wasn't able to go to Mission Viejo, to go coach my postgrads.
Right.
So, you know, I just feel like, wow, if we only have 2 or 3 opportunities to race and I'm not able to like be with them at this meet. I mean, they did well and it was fine. But I also think like that sometimes coaching college and then trying to take care of your pros, that's a little bit difficult sometimes, just feeling like I know what my job is. It's at Texas, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's different because it's a different mindset. You know?
What's your theory on that? You know, obviously this year they just finished up NCAAs. There's a couple of months Olympic trials. It's easy to kind of hang around and do that. But like, what if a girl wants to stay on for another couple of years and train for the Olympics? Are you open to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the kind of people that want to stay on for a couple of years, this year was weird because it was one more year than they all, you know, thought. But if they're at Texas and they're making the environment a better training environment and they've learned they're a good resource for the younger kids and they're like making it better, absolutely. You know, like I haven't had to have any of the conversations of like, it's time for you to move on. Like, thankfully, right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't have a big postgrad group. So, but the kids I do have, they make it better, right? They're focused, they're driven, they're professionals. They're like,
yeah, right. And that's what you want for sure. Are you open to someone from the outside coming in then?
I have been in the past. It's not like I have in the past, like girl that swam at Georgia came swam with me for a while.
Okay. COVID probably shut some of that down too, right?
COVID shut a lot of that down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think next year will be fine. Just coaching we won't have any postgrads. We'll be different. We'll be just like clean slate again, you know?
Yeah. Do you have your own goals? Like, do you want to continue to make U.S. teams, like be part of the staff of like Olympic teams, World Championship teams, things like that?
I mean, I have personal goals, but I think they're more tied into the goals of our kids, I guess. Like that is never a goal that I've written of like, ooh, I'd love to be an assistant coach of the Olympics, or I'd love to coach at the Olympics. Like, I just want to help these kids do what they want to do, or do it like kind of the joint. Like sometimes it's up to us to like help a kid realize like you are good. Like this is what you can accomplish. Right. So it's like, I think my goals are more caught up with like, if I can enable the people on our team to really achieve like some amazing stuff, then things are going to happen in the right way.
And if a nomination for a team comes with that. It's where you can
Correct.
go with one of your athletes.
Correct. Because those aren't easy either. Like we were on a trip together. Like,
yeah,
it sounds cool. Every trip I have not regretted one trip I've taken. Like, I've loved every trip in a different way, but it's also like, it's not easy. It wasn't easy when my kids were like 3 and 5 and you leave for 3 weeks or, you know, you leave for 2 weeks here. Our family vacations are always around like swimming, you know what I mean? Like, they're not easy, but I haven't regretted it. I haven't turned down any because like, it's been worth it. And I think the camaraderie that you have, like we wouldn't have known each other that well without spending those 2 weeks together.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's like going through something difficult with other people and like chasing excellence and like spending that much time together doing like, you know, most of it's sitting around talking. It's like, it's really fun.
I've talked to a lot of male coaches with children and, you know, families. I've also talked to some women who don't have families yet or have never had a family. There's not a lot of female coaches out there that actually have children, have a family. How do you balance it? I mean, right? There's not that many, right?
There aren't that many. Yeah.
How do you find that balance?
I mean, I don't know if it's that balance. You could ask my girls. They're 16 and 18 now, so I'm almost through the gauntlet, right? But it was not easy. I mean, it's never anything good isn't easy. But like Kevin, my husband's been great. Like, he traveled a lot, he worked, so I had a lot of good help, I guess. Like just old swimmers, you know, like and people to be around. Brought my parents in when I was away for a long time. Brought my mom in, you know.
You didn't ever get one of your girls like just break your heart by saying you weren't there for me or anything like that? Like, did you ever get that?
I mean, maybe a little bit, just like teenage years. Like I've been through it with. I mean, just having a teenager and walking through the other side. I think COVID's been in some ways like really good for our family because we spent more time together.
Right.
And I think my relationships with both my daughters and my husband is different because of it. But and that's what, you know, one of the blessings of something that was a disaster. But I never wanted to have my, you know, they did, one of them did sports, now she doesn't, one of them still does swimming, and I'm like, I never want them to feel that I care about my like team more than I, you know, care about them. Every once in a while they're probably like, wait, where's mom? But I do think it's like, I think it's powerful to let them know that they can, like, I didn't have kids to model this kind of behavior, but like I know that I'm my best when I'm working. Like I'm just built that way. Like I love good work, you know, like I like working, and I think I just love what I do. I don't know if I'd love work if I worked at a bank, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, and I think my husband put it well, like he said, look, the girls get more out of watching you do well and like watching you do well, what you do well, more than they get out of like seeing me leave for work and come back after a trip.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, there is a lot you can teach them, I guess.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I'm best when I'm working too. And look, life's tough and you have to work. You can't, there's no way around it. Like, it's not like you can just be like, I'm not going to work hard and be really successful in life. Like, it's just doesn't work like that. So
no, it doesn't work like that.
I think modeling that is great. But I do distinctly remember the most difficult times for me were instances like my girls were playing soccer at 6 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. You know, I'd come from practice and within, 30 minutes of me getting to the field, I'd be having to take recruiting calls at the field while I'm watching my girls play soccer. And I remember distinctly thinking to myself, what am I doing? Like, this is horrible. I've been at work all day long. My girls are like, Daddy's here finally. And I'm walking away from people taking recruiting calls. Like, I just felt terrible about that.
But how many people actually talk about that?
Yeah, very few.
Very few. And you're out of it. But like, even not many people talk about it now. Like I mean, it's terrible. Even, like, oh, oh, wait, I have a Zoom with this, or I'm doing this. It's like, it's a lifestyle. It is not like a job.
No.
Right. And I don't think, like, I don't want to make it look easy. It is not easy. Or if people call me, they're like, wait, how'd you do it? Or, I mean, you got to find what works for you. Right. Like, but then again, like you still have a wife, right?
No, we got divorced because of that.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it ruined us.
no, sorry to hear that. But that's like, the thing is, like, there's a lot of people that don't talk about that either. It is hard. Like you said, how do you have the balance? Like, I don't know if I could say that truthfully, that I have a lot of balance, right? But I don't know how many successful people really, like, if I'm saying I'm successful, but like, how many successful people, doesn't matter. You're a surgeon, but you're doing really, really good work. Like, how many people have balance within that?
Well, my boss now, David Arluck, who runs Fitter and Faster, who has taken the job itself, and look, we've exploded. But he's a hard worker, and he talks to me about this all the time. He's a great mentor of mine too. But he says, look, a lot of people think balance is 50-50, and it's not. It's not a 50-50 thing. Balance is your intention and where you are at that point in time. It could be 90% work, 10% children and family, but that 10% is, are you 100% invested in that 10%? You know, I mean, you could say, yeah, I give 50% to my kids, but the whole time you're on your phone while your kids are standing next to you. So it's like, you're not giving that 50%. But if that phone is away and you're totally engaged in your children for 10% of your time during the day, then your kids feel valued. And that's what he mentored me to understand too. And I think that was a very difficult thing for me to understand as a young coach, this balance thing, and me trying to explain to my wife, like, at the time, I have balance. And she's saying, no, you don't. You're doing this and you're doing this and you're doing this. Your attention is taken away from where it should be at this present point in time. So in terms of some advice that you could give, or ways that you do that, how are you intentional when everything in your life wants to take your attention away from you?
I agree with what you said. Like, I think it's about being present with the people you love, right? And making time, like, to tell the people, that around you and the people that you care about, that you do care about. Like, because I think we are able to show that as we're coaching, right? But then to also bring our best selves to the rest of our lives. Like, I'm calling like, I've even realized during COVID, like, I've probably reconnected with some people that I haven't talked to in a long time, just because I want to make the time. And sometimes at night, I'm like, I feel like all I've done all day is talk and lead. Like, I'm all talked out at the end of the day, but like, then I think, okay, this is when I'm going to go take a walk we got a puppy. So I'm like, take a walk with a puppy and my daughters, or I'll take my other daughter to Target. We'll go mess around. Like, just as long as we're spending that time and I'm not so wrapped up in what I'm doing, and I'm brave enough to say, like, here's the time I'm going to work, and here's the time I'm off. Right. And being really deliberate about and clear of, like, no, this is my time with my family, or this is my time here, and that is difficult because it kind of goes back. Like, I don't know why I feel as a female that I have to be there for everyone, but I can't be everything to everybody, and I the more if I can take care of myself and the people that I love, and like allow people to take care of me too, then it helps.
Well, I noticed just in researching this, you don't have like a huge social media presence either. It's not like you're on this thing 20 times a day and you're putting this out and you're putting that out. Has that been
that good or bad?
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. Like, look, we live in a world where that's the new style of recruiting. So have you felt like that has hurt you, or has that been better for you to stay out of that mess?
Well, my partner in crime, Mitch, he's actually really good at it. Right. So, I mean, if he's probably carrying more of our social media presence, if you're thinking about Texas. Right. But like, I do think if I'm sharing stuff, I'm really, my like social media, am I should I do more? Probably. But at the end of the day, like that's not I don't want to be like one of those people who like, I'm never using a computer, like I keep up with it because my girls are on it and I know how to do things. But at the end of I want to talk to people. I do understand also the inherent risks of being, sorry. My lights go out. There we go. Of the inherent risks of just being on social media so much, right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, for sure.
Anxiety, depression, everything else, whether it's people on our team, people on everything. So like, I also think it's not that important. Yeah. It really is not that important. And it goes back to that. What are we doing with intention? Like, you can get lost in a rabbit hole. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, I'd rather read a magazine or read a book or talk to someone I haven't talked to in a while. And if that's going to be terrible for recruiting, at some point, I think it's unsustainable.
I do too.
And if an athlete, if a kid, a 16-year-old needs that much attention, or I'm just like feeding their like, that's probably not going to work as well if they're on our team. Right?
Absolutely. I agree with everything you just said. What is then your sales pitch? Like, how do you get the best? Like we all want the best, right? And these kids are ranked these days. I hate the rankings, but you the good ones, the ones that are potential Olympic medalists in the future. I remember when Katie Ledecky came along, and it was like, wow, Katie Ledecky's actually going to college. Like, who's going to be in contention for her? And then I thought to myself, like, what are they saying? And what's the sales pitch for each one of those teams? What are they saying to Katie Ledecky? So in terms of, some of the top recruits, like, what are you telling them? Why Texas?
Mm-hmm. I mean, really, at the end of it's not like I'm afraid to give you my secrets, but I think it's different for every kid. Like, right. Why Texas? Like, it goes back to what I still believe now is I do things about people, and I think we take care of people really well. And I do think we have a great environment. It's positive, and it's not going to be easy, right? But I'll take care of people when they're in the best times, and I'm going to take care of people when they're not having their best times. And I think that's there. I mean, there's a lot more to it because people want to hear about training and they want to hear about school and they want to hear academics. But at the end of the day, I think like we have a lot of good people here and a lot of people who care about them.
Yes, I agree. And I think
that sounds like I'm not cheating you on an answer to that. Right?
Well, no, look, you are great in that area, but the other things you have going for you is that you're in Austin. It's a great town. You're at the University of Texas. There's a great education. So, I mean, you have these things that are going for you. Like for me, when I was at Auburn in Alabama, I couldn't walk into every single home in America and feel like I had an equal playing field with the other top coaches. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel, at least for you, do you feel like you have a chance with every single person in the country?
I feel we're getting there. I do.
Are there areas where you feel like it's very tough for us to recruit from that area? Like California, is it hard to get kids from California?
I think it's difficult. I think people, no, it's not hard to get people from, I think Texas is kind of like California. And I mean, Texas is like California from the 90s or something.
No, Austin's incredible. Like, yeah, it's a great city. Right? And that's what I'm asking.
It's a great city.
Yeah.
I think if any, it's not that anything works against. If you've never been to Texas, and like some people are like, wait, what's Texas like? Are there like tumbleweeds? And, they think everybody's like cowboy boots. And I mean, if you haven't been to Austin, you don't know. Right?
So there's still stereotypes that you come up
against.
There's
a little bit of there's stereotypes. And also, I mean, if you look at the top team, like Stanford, Cal, Virginia, let's say, right? That on paper, academically, that's the, like Texas is a hell of a school. And I just,
sure.
I think people don't realize like how there's so many good schools out there. Right. And Texas is one of them. And you can argue that on paper, we'll lose kids because they, they're like, hey, I want to go to, Cal or they're doing a hell of a job at so many places. But I think that's, I fight that battle. I mean, there are people that are like, oh, I don't know about swimming for a woman. I'm like, oh. I want to swim for a combined program. I really like swimming with guys.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's like a million things,
Did you guys ever do combined practices with Eddie? Was there ever a time you did any?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
I mean, it's not, we get along. It's not like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
like,
No. I was just asking.
not do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
could, it's just not, Eddie doesn't like, they know what they're doing on any given day. He knows exactly what they're doing. But if there was something where I thought like, we actually did some cool meets with them during COVID, like,
Right.
you know.
What's the pool situation? I see like a little diagram in the back here. Is that your new outdoor pool or what's that?
Yeah, that was before it was built, but
It is built now?
yeah,
Cool. I haven't been down there. I need to come check it out. But
amazing.
you guys are in it now? Swimming in it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
actually it's 5 long course lanes and 5 short course lanes set up at the same time. So like today's practice, like we're going back and forth a little bit. Yeah, and so then we have the indoor pool, and then you walk right outside, and we can either set it up like 22 short course lanes or 5 long and 5 short.
It's on campus.
Yeah, it's right behind the pool.
Where did they get
On the
this
corner.
space? I've been to the pool
Yeah,
before.
well,
Where'd they find this pool space?
We used every inch available to us, and it's right outside, like right behind the diving well. If you can visualize it.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. There's not a diving well outside now, is there?
No,
Okay.
unfortunately.
The diving
No.
Coach must have been too happy about that.
He's fine.
I know diving coaches; they want everything. So, well, that's nice though. But that's a nice recruiting tool now. It's not just an indoor pool; you have an outdoor facility too.
Right.
That's special.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Well, what's the future? What's coming up for you?
Trials.
Vacation.
No.
Vacation? Where are you going to go on vacation?
I'm gonna go to Italy.
Oh wow, beautiful.
I just booked my tickets.
Fantastic.
Sometime in August,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
I
amazing.
mean, I want to get through trials. We have a meet at the end of the summer. I mean, sometimes it's hard to get kids to swim a whole summer when they're, in the past there's Olympic trials and people are like, oh, I just want a break. But this year's different that we've had a break, right? We had a break last summer. It was weird. And people are just in a good spot. See what we can do at trials and see what happens at the Olympics, and then take a little break.
Yeah, take that break.
I will.
Well, listen, I've really enjoyed this. I had no idea what we were going to talk about. And even when you said to me, do you send the questions through? I'm like, no, I'm purposely
You said, I think questions are boring. And
Questions.
I thought, okay, this is going to go well.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you one thing. You don't have a Wikipedia page. Why is that? Can someone start a Wikipedia page for
that
you?
was important. I know. I don't know.
Well, it's important
I've done enough, right? Like
you've done plenty enough to get a Wikipedia page. Can somebody please start this campaign to get Carol a Wikipedia page? Anybody listening out there?
You gotta do some work, I don't know.
You've done plenty. Well, you're doing a fantastic job. I'm a big fan. I love what you're doing. You and Mitch, I think it's a great team, and continue it. All right. But make sure you take those breaks. All right.
I will. All right. Thanks, Brett. It's good talking to you.
Thanks, Carol. Take care.
All right. Bye.